So, Dr. Anita Sanchez, welcome. I'm so excited that you're here and you're wearing turquoise, which is our brand color and for this event. So,
it's one of our brand colors too for my tribe.
I love the color and I love turquoise. So I'm so excited that it's all in alignment. So Dr. Anita Sanchez, let me just read her bio real quick. Dr. Anita Sanchez is a Naha, and I don't know if I said that correctly.
Nahua.
That's Nahua, Aztec, and Mexican American transformational leadership consultant, speaker, coach, and author of the 2019 International Latino Book Award for the Four Sacred Gifts, Indigenous Wisdom for Modern Times, which is published by Simon & Schuster. And she bridges Indigenous teachings with the latest science to inspire and equip women and men to enjoy meaningful, empowered lives and careers. She also received the Conscious Company Media 2020 World Changing Woman and World Woman Foundation She Is My Hero Awards. Actually, it's hashtag She Is My Hero Awards. And a recent study, I wanted to give some context before we got into her talk. A recent study and polls report that business is the most trusted institution in the world, with 68% expecting business to take the lead on fixing societal problems. As leaders, we are called to navigate intense challenges of social and racial inequities, distrust of government and politics, global warming, COVID, economic uncertainty, and more. How can we conduct business in a productive, healthy, and life-giving relationship with ourselves and others? And in her book, The Four Sacred Gifts, Indigenous elders from around the world share a call to action that asks all of humanity, from the living room to the boardroom, to remember their connection to all of our relations. They tell us that vibrant community and experience of belonging can emerge when we individually and collectively embody four sacred gifts. So, if you didn't get by now from that introduction that Dr. Anita Sanchez is fabulous and incredible and so connected, I hope, I don't know what else we can do. Thank you so much, Dr. Anita Sanchez, for being here. And I'm going to call you Anita, if that's okay.
Yes, call me Anita. I'm delighted to be here and to see all these beautiful faces. It's great.
Yes, it's funny because I know you and I are on an Anita, like that. I call you that, but I also always when I know other women particularly women have the doctor in their name, it's always a good way to acknowledge them using that because you earned it, right? So, okay, so let's go into my first question. So this is related to the book, The Four Sacred Gifts. What does the Indigenous worldview of all my relations teach us about the interconnection of all we do in business and life?
Yes, that's a wonderful question because it's fundamental. And I think it's part of what Indigenous wisdom keepers, traditions from all over the world are pointing to now, is that in that worldview, we are all one. It's like you make this circle, and it's not like this. It's flat, it's horizontal. We're all one hoop of life. There isn't the north, the south. There isn't, those higher and lower. It's one hoop. And everything's interconnected. And we know just from the last year with COVID and everything, that something can happen, halfway around the world, and it impacts us. The reality is that's always true. The illusion of separateness has gone away. Now that sounds kind of heavy on one hand. It's like, oh my gosh, then everything's interconnected. But also the freeing, the abundant part of this is that means we have everything we need. Everything is in the circle. And I'll close with this, a part of this is that from an Indigenous perspective, I was always taught that everything is sacred. And you may hear sacred from a religious viewpoint and maybe universe energy, pure consciousness, whatever, but that everything is sacred, but not everybody acts in a sacred way all the time. And what is being explicitly by that poll you suggested, asked of us as leaders in business, whether it's a small business or big business, it doesn't matter. What is being asked is that we show up, that we care about how we be and what we do.
Mm. Yes. And by the way, I just wanted to mention I had started reading your book. I'm not done yet, but it is just so powerful. And if anybody hasn't gotten it, highly suggest that they do get it and do read it, because it's so, even just hearing you speak, I feel expanded already.
Good.
So it's so powerful. And so let's just, for everyone who hasn't read the book yet, what are the four gifts?
Yeah. Well, you're going to like this because you already have them.
Hmm.
I mean, that's the whole point. Most of what we have to share, it's already within you. It's just about awakening it, or remembering. So the 27 elders from around the world came together. Spirit called them. They built this hoop with 100 eagle feathers. And in that, at the end of the ceremony, they put in the four gifts for all of us, not just for Indigenous people, not for people just some part of the world, all of us. So here are the four gifts. That Spirit promise, if you use these gifts, you will remember how to be in right, healthy relationship with yourself, other two-leggeds, human beings, and all the other relatives that are in this hoop of life. Okay, so the four gifts are: the first, the power to forgive the unforgivable.
Mm.
The power to forgive the unforgivable. Put that in the ceremonial part of your heart. The second gift they put in there for all of us to create harmony and balance, to remember how to be in right relationship, is the power of healing. The gift of the power of healing. Put that in the ceremonial part of your heart. And then the third gift that they put in there for all of us is the gift of the power of unity. Oh my. You already put that in the ceremonial part of your heart. You can feel how much we need that. And then the fourth gift they put in there is the gift of the power of hope. Hope in action. So put that in the ceremonial part of your heart. And so what this eagle hoop prophecy, these four gifts, what was shared in the promise when it was given to us back in 1994, and when I then started integrating it with all my corporate work with large global corporations and also small business, medium-sized businesses around the world, is that it opened up, it released the ability to lead in the fullest sense of who we are, what we are, not just being human doings, but human beings.
Mm. And I just wanted to repeat that. The four gifts are the power to forgive the unforgivable, power of unity, the gift of healing, and the gift of hope. Beautiful. Thank you. And, this event, as I'm hearing you speak, it reminds me, it ties into um, the event is mission to millions and impacting the world. And I see there's such a correlation there with what you're talking about. And can you explain how the four gifts in action are essential leadership and life tools, especially for those who want to make a bigger impact?
They absolutely are. I'll give you a concrete example of where I integrated them back in a few years ago with a high-tech company. And their product was becoming a commodity, and so it was flat. And they knew that there was something they needed to do all over the world to awaken their people. And so they hired us, and I used positive psychology, appreciative inquiry, and wove the four gifts in there.
Mm.
Now, in a flat market, this is a $25 billion business. They went from 25 billion to 29 billion in a flat market in just over a year. And it got written up about, but what I want to say is the money is a symbol of that it was in flow, that it was all working. People were remembering who they were, and they got out of silos. So sales that used to take a year plus started happening with in 6 months. If it was over $1 million sale, it usually took a year to a year and a half. But they were doing it in 6 months. It's because they were calling on all of that, who they are, and understanding they're not just separate individuals, that's an illusion, that there's this whole connection, just like we are here, just like what you're doing, bringing us all together, that we are so much more when we draw on each other. And so they were using these gifts. And so in business, sometimes what bogs us down is we don't forgive. I know I go into businesses and some are still complaining about something they lost a benefit 15, 20 years ago. Now, I'm not going to get into the right and wrong with that benefit should be there. But what happens is we're energy. And if you know your quantum physics, and we know science has caught up with indigenous wisdom keepers. We always knew we were this energy, part of this pure consciousness. And when you use your energy holding on to a pain and resentment, then you have that less energy for now and what you want to create. So forgiveness, I work a lot with leaders and their teams of forgiving. And let me say what it's not, because people have a false belief about forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
Forgiveness does not mean that you forget. You're not going to forget those things that happen to you. That's just, I was going to say, forget that one. No,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
because forgiveness is not. So it doesn't mean that you forget. It doesn't mean that you're weak. It doesn't mean that you betrayed yourself or a whole group of people. Because some of the big unforgivables are some that have happened to whole collective groups of people. Um,
Right.
it doesn't mean any of that. What it means is that you care enough, you love yourself enough to let go of the energy of that so that you can use it for now. So forgiveness can mean that you actually are seeking justice, that you are like, I work and I love it. So even when I call it work, I kind of go a lot back. It's my joy about raising the voices inside of businesses, small and large, of women, people of color, white men who don't fit the mold. That brings me joy because I know all our gifts are matter at this time. All those challenges you've talked about at the beginning, the only way this is going to happen is if we all come together and do this. We have to rise together and really see each other and know that we belong. And
Mm-hmm.
so it just really excites me about the forgiveness. Unity and hope, Alexandra, is mainly where businesses want me to come in, and I work on that. And we've seen lots of examples of that. For example, what I just told you, where this organization went from 2.5 to 2.9 billion dollars in a flat market. But what I will say to them too is that unity and hope, powerful, powerful gifts. And I have followers. I have all these awards. No one would have said this young girl from Missouri who
Mm-hmm.
grew up in poverty, the only non-Black family in a Black neighborhood, would end up doing what I did. But I knew, not the specifics, but I knew. And this is the other thing I want to say on all of this, because this is in the hope dream. I still have my dream from when I was 3 and 4 of this world with all these stick people with their hands on each other's heart. And in kindergarten, I declared, that's me. And there are millions of us. We're all over. And the kids laughed and the teacher said, put away the crayons. But what happened to me, and you know what happens to you in your life, you know when you're in it, it didn't matter what the external said. I felt my feet go down into the earth and my head go up in the sky. I didn't have language for it, a PhD in organization development, diversity, equity, inclusion, you know, raising the voices of women on girls all over the world. But that's what it was. The how will come. What happens is holding on to your dreams, or if it's a dream that needs to be let go, then dream new dreams. That's part of our power of being a human being. So all these gifts are you can look at them separately, and I invite you to do that, but they're also all intimately interconnected. What you'll get from this, just as I'm looking at you on the screen, is we might look like separate little cells. We're not. We're not. We're part of this one amazing hoop of life. And every moment we have a choice. Every moment we have a choice of how to be.
It's incredible you made this, you gave this case for this corporation. How about some of us who are solopreneurs or have small businesses? What are some examples of how we can use the gifts in those smaller businesses?
Right. Well, definitely. So I'm a solopreneur. I don't have a big organization. I have some subcontractors, and otherwise it's me and my partner, my husband in life for 47 years. And at different times, I'll be in an organization the size of 50 or 60 people because of the subcontractors, and other times smaller. And we hire each other back and forth. So we really are like nature that,
Mm.
expands and closes, expands and closes. But the 4 gifts made a huge difference in my life. In my early years, uh, I've had great elders always in my life, the dreams I talked about, but I also had to deal with abuse, the 9 years of childhood abuse that I kept a secret. And then the murder of my father at age 13 was so relevant what's going on right now. Now, you may not have either of those in your life, but you have something, some challenge or struggle. Those 4 gifts, those 4 gifts, forgiveness, healing, unity and hope. Help me to move through, to let go and release, to forgive, to use my energy to create systems and structures that don't allow that to happen again, but also to really open up the possibilities for larger visions. So those awards that you described at the beginning, it's not for me to go, because I did none of that by myself. Others have always supported me. If it's not just the trees who are converting the oxygen that I'm breathing, from my carbon, but those awards, I truly believe, came because I was in alignment with my own self-care. So let me give you this, because I want you to go with so many tools. There's so much indigenous wisdom that's so powerful. And we ultimately are all indigenous. We are all of the earth, the water, the stardust. We know that. But some of us have kept that original knowledge through our ancestors, and others have lost it. But you've only forgotten, only forgotten. So good medicine, I was always taught, in every breath, every thought, every action, we get to each choose to be good medicine or bad medicine. Good medicine is anyone or anything that puts into alignment the spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical. Bad medicine is anyone or anything that takes that out of alignment. So when I'm in my business doing something and I get like maybe some, I look really great here, but sometimes it's like this. Let's all be real, right? Sometimes it's like that. When I get like that, I draw calm. It's like you're speaking before. Breath is our first, that's part of our connection to the pure consciousness, is that breath. Get quiet. Sometimes it only takes a few moments, and sometimes I need to be there for 20 minutes or more. And I just go into this space, and those gifts, different things call to me. And so then I know whether I'm to act or not act. Whether I am just to, because the reward is so great. And even what we're here for, successful women, right? But the reward is so great for the doing, and we need to be about doing, have a lot of things to get done. However, that doing is a reflection of how we be. So when I get quiet and draw on these gifts, which gift is calling to me right now? Listen to your heart, not my head, my heart. The mind comes along because we don't want it to go. We're dead then. But we listen to heart, and then I'm like, oh, and then it opens up, and I realize, oh, I need to ask for help. Mm-hmm. You don't heal by yourself. You don't create everything by yourself. And I've gone through times where it's been just me, and then me and my husband running the business, and everything changed when I began. And luckily in diversity, equity, inclusion work, you're expected to come in with the team all the time. But everything I do with others. And it freed me. We need each other. So that's how I draw. I draw on them in all sorts of ways.
So let's bring it, maybe having it to clarify and maybe make it a little even more practical. And is it at any moment do you want to focus on one in particular, or like you said, just tune in and see what is being called in that moment?
Well, the truth of it all is that these are all intimately interconnected. So my ability to forgive the murderer, because my father died, it was race related, as I mentioned, mistaken for a black man and white man in the 60s had a fight, and the white man returned and shot 3 bullets through my father's head, killed him on the spot. That's a huge thing in itself, let alone all the other things that are part of my history. But what I found is that when I could, I didn't go immediately to forgiveness. I was angry, hurt. Oh my gosh, I've seen this for too long. And now we're seeing it. Of course, more people are seeing what many of us of color have seen for a long time. But what I did realize is that other people, I put up this wall of separation. And sometimes when we're new entrepreneurs, we're like, it feels risky. So we put up these walls. And I was really good at putting up the wall because I wasn't going to let the bad stuff in. Like nobody's going to take my IP. Nobody's going to, wait a minute. But then what I realized is that when you put up that wall, yeah, it keeps out the bad stuff, at least a lot of it, but it also keeps out the good stuff. The wall can't tell between the Alexandras or the Chanels or the Nicolas, or they can't tell. So what I started bringing that wall down, and what brought it down was not drawing on the gift of forgiveness. It was drawing on the gift of unity. As a teenager, people began already seeing me. I mean, I started working Macy's department store as manager at 13. I lied about my age. And then at college, people elected me to student body president of a large university in Colorado. And I was like, how, if they only knew. Do you do some of this? Oh, if they only knew really who I am and the background and the horrors and the struggles. And then just the schism got too great. And then I began drawing into the gifts. So whatever's calling to you, when you put that in your heart, just go with that. Don't question. It's not irrational. Just go. And then you'll see they're all interconnected. They all lead to each other. And that's what led me to, have Bishop Tutu show up in one of my classes, have these awards, have the things that happen every day. Before I came on here, I'm talking to one of the most famous Lakota elders who's teaching me about forgiveness and quantum physics. I mean, this is all interconnected. And whatever it is you're doing, it matters. We
Oh,
need you here at this time.
yeah. And I just saw Tony said she loves this and she just ordered the book. She can't wait to read it. So, yay. And again, the four gifts, the power to forgive the unforgivable, the power of unity, the gift of healing, and the gift of hope. I think in this moment, absolutely, I think I'm being called for the power of unity. I'm feeling that in this moment. But I love that you said it's all interconnected. So it's not like one is necessarily, far off from the other. Like there, at any moment, you could even have multiple. Is that correct?
Absolutely. You have many, like you have more than one dream at one time, right? But sometimes you give your focus specifically on one, and then sometimes just focusing on one, another one comes in. So I knew I wanted to amplify the voices of Indigenous wisdom keepers to help girls and women rise. And lo and behold, this award came from from New York, from the World Women's Foundation. It's got people like Jane Goodall. I say that because Jane Goodall, I mean, it's all these people that are very famous, and they came from me. No, you're one of the 60 women. We want you to help inspire 1 million girls around the world to live their dream and step into leadership. And we know part of that needs to be business. So we want you in what you went through because you're willing to tell the truth and not just pretend it's all together, but that there's stuff always happening. So yeah, it's quite a thing that how I really sense that you are unity, but you also are drawing on some other things. I think you know that.
Absolutely. Yes.
You know that. But unity is
Absolutely.
definitely a big one. We need it big time in whatever way that is, in helping sell your product, on helping with your family, rebuild your business, help coaching, whatever it is you're doing. We need to use these gifts that are already ours.
Mm. So you just said so much juiciness and so much goodness right there. I wanted to highlight that you are a best-selling author. Your message goes out to people all over the world. You just mentioned you were part of this organization that's reaching 1 million girls, right? So we're talking about mission to millions. Not that it always has to be at that level, but just the fact that you've been doing it, you are doing it. What was something, a challenge or something that maybe self-imposed or something else, some block or something that you've had to overcome or challenge to get over that hump so that you could really step up and do the things, the global work that you're doing?
Yes. What I had to do is really believe in myself, which
Mm.
required those gifts, because self. So the danger of doubt. So here's where hope, and you may have vision and dreams, and what happens is because of the way our brain is structured, it's about safety and what you already know. Well, from this girl in the middle of Missouri, poor neighborhood. I mean, I knew things. I knew a lot of wisdom there in the neighborhood, but I know nothing about business. My father shoveled coal. My mother babysat. Wonderful. I don't mean it, but I didn't know anything about global businesses or anything else. What I will say is that I needed to step forward. I followed really the dream that I shared for you as a 3-year-old. That got me to start university at age 16, move to the University of Colorado, gave me full scholarship after my first year, and I came here, and I just kept getting degrees. And so I think it's just following whatever it is. But that was a big one for me, is like, um, it's weird for me to even say like that I'm not really me. This isn't really me. It is me. The hurt and pain and mistreatments and challenges were a false illusion of my incredible brilliance. And so when I go to describe myself, I say brilliant. And I mean that not only in a mental sense, but brilliant in terms of energy and ability to inspire others. So, so getting over that, and on whatever version you have, like this can't be, I don't know how to do this. And let me tell you, my knees shake that first time I went into a corporate headquarters back east, though I've never seen doors that tall. And I went in to meet, and I was only 23 at that point. And I remember sitting down, and the man looked over at me, who's a vice president. He said, I knew you're a woman. I knew you were probably Latina from your last name, but I didn't realize how young you are. Are you going to be able to help me? And I remember just looking at him and saying, I don't know.
Mm.
We can talk and see if it can. That led to what was a 26-year contract in this big global corporation. So again, take your fear in hand and you just go forward with noise truth. And the fear that's what I literally back then. I have a lot less fears. They still come up, so I'm not telling any falsehood, but they don't stay. And I think part of it is I really keep integrating these gifts and knowing I'm part of this larger hoop, this larger universe energy. So even when something doesn't come through, I'm grateful. I'm like, thank you. I know this happened for me to learn, or that you're opening up to something even bigger. And lo and behold, it has. And it continues to almost every day.
So it's something to learn, or it's opening up something even bigger or better. So it's incredible. Wow. Okay. So as we begin to wrap, I just wanted to see everyone, if you can write in the chat your takeaways, your love and gratitude for Anita, and anything else that you'd love to share with her. And I did want to mention your gift that you're giving to the participants, and it is a free ebook that is called The Four Sacred Gifts: Essential Indigenous Wisdom for Thriving in These Times. And there is a link to that, so we'll go ahead and drop that as well. And before we do that, or before we end, I wanted to ask you, what advice would you give your younger self?
Oh, wow. Okay, so when you say younger self, let me just be clear. My 3-year-old is a wise woman, a wise 3-year-old. My older self is wise. So if it was the ages in between with all the struggles, what I would say is, you are not your circumstances. You deal with them, but you are not them. You are so much more. And calling on all of that is what allows you to build the muscle to get through it, around it, over it, under it, whatever way it is. But I am really clear that that girl who is still me and inside of me, that wonderful girl from Missouri, she already knew. She already had the dream. She had not separated from the sacred. So I say all that to know, a lot of times we look to our wiser self, but sometimes our wiser self is actually that child. And we're seeing young people come in with such wisdom. Oh my gosh, it makes me so excited.
Yes. It was funny because as I was asking you the question, I even thought, your 3-year-old self was actually quite ahead.
Yes.
And also at that age, we don't have all these other
yes.
that have come in. So that was true spirit coming through you at that moment. Wow, how incredible. Well, I mean, and all we can continue to do is just be ourselves, and we'll hopefully be role models for other 3-year-olds that might have this vision or dream to step up and serve in a bigger way. So amazing. Well, thank you so much. You've got some love in the chat, and I really, really appreciate you, Anita. This has been amazing. Every time I'm in your presence and I hear you and I speak to you, I just feel fuller as well.
Thank you, Alexandra. And I love being with you, and I love what you're pulling together. And if I could add, she put the link in there, and when you go there, there's also forsacredgifts.com if you can't remember the whole thing. There's a free song, and it just came through me right now because you love music.
Yes.
And you can download a free song that has a lot of the messages, the indigenous wisdom, and listen to it. I get messages from South Africa, Costa Rica, all these different places, like, we're listening to your song. And I'm like, whoa. So we need music. All different kinds of things are supports to us as we, thrive, as we live the best life that we can in benefit to ourselves and to all our relations. Thank you
Mm,
so much, Alexandra.
beautiful. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. For more help growing your visibility and monetizing your brand, go to alexanderfigueredo.com. And if you like this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications. Thank you.